All right, it looks like we're live, which is great. So, all right, welcome everybody. So I'm Joanna Ogburn, the chair of the Annapolis Conservancy Board, and I hereby call this meeting of the Annapolis Conservancy Board on January 14th to order. So first things first, I wanted to get started because we're being taped and not everybody knows who we are and introduce ourselves. Before I jump to have everybody introduce themselves, I want to introduce Linda Frost, who hopefully you all can see her video feed. She has just joined us. She's a new board member. Yeah, really excited to have her on. She works with the Trust for Public Land and has a great background in land conservation. And and actually, if that's an okay time, Linda, I'd love for you to say whatever else you'd like to say to introduce yourself. We're excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to be here and joining the board. I live in Eastport with a view of Back Creek, so I feel very fortunate, and I just wanted to start getting a bit more involved in the community. And with my background in land conservation, it seemed like this board was, a good fit. So I'm happy to dig in and get going.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Thank you so much for your interest. It's awesome.
That's great.
Trudy, you want to go ahead?
Hi, I'm Trudy McFall. Been on the board a while, a few years. I forget how long. And I'm a houser. I'm a developer and owner of affordable housing as chairman and founder of Homes for America. And always happy to help this commission, but always happy to see our brain trust expanding. So welcome, Lynn.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. All right. How about Karen? Do you want to go ahead?
My name's Karen Jennings. I've been on the board since 2007, and I'm a past chair. And I work in environmental engineering.
Awesome. All right. And then Tom?
Yeah, hi, this is Tom Libbert. I'm the faceless one here. I've also been on the board just a little bit longer than Karen. Still work for the federal government, and background is more heavily into business and contracting, and trying to, make sure we take a look at all the things that other people normally forget. So thank you and welcome aboard.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. Racine, you want to go ahead?
Sure. My name is Racine Hodo. I work with Jackie Guile in the city manager's office for resilience and sustainability.
Awesome. And so it sounds like Racine is going to probably be serving as our liaison, maybe as a tag team with Jackie.
Yeah, we sometimes we'll be together. Sometimes it'll be me or her, but it'll probably be me more than her.
Sure. And Linda, to bring you up to speed, we used to have Brian Adams was our city liaison, who I guess is the city forester. Not sure if that's the exact term, but when Jackie took her new position, which is, do you know what it is, Racine? I can never remember.
It is Deputy City Manager, Resilience and Sustainability.
Resilience and Sustainability. So when she kind of shifted positions there, it shifted around some folks as well. So we're excited to have Racine working with us. Thank you. And Ashley, yeah.
Ashley Leonard. I'm an assistant city attorney, and I am staffed to your board.
For better or for worse for you, but we appreciate it. It's been awesome.
You guys are not bad.
That's good to hear. Well, we really love it. So thank you. And then, Tammy, do you want to say hi? Tammy has been with the board probably, I don't know, longer than anybody maybe, or Karen, do you? I don't know.
Well, I'm Tammy, and I am the recorder, and I have been with the city as a part-time employee for 25 years of this April.
Crazy. So, that's awesome.
Yes. So I've been around for a while.
Don't you want us to see your beautiful face, Tammy?
I would, but I'm typing, so I'm not going to let you guys. Besides, I don't think you want to see the baseball cap.
I get it. Don't worry.
Yes.
Oh, this is great. It's really wonderful to have all you guys on. Thanks for joining us tonight. All right, so first things first, as we usually do, wanted to just go over the minutes from our last meeting. I read through these and had a couple quick comments, but wanted to see Linda, Trudy, Karen, Tom, do you have anything that you wanted to note?
No, this is Tom. I move that the minutes be accepted.
Ooh. I've got a couple of edits I just want to toss in if that's okay.
Sure.
Is that all right? All right. So, and Tammy, I can type these and send them to you too, because I know it's really hard to do off the audio. I just wanted in the piece with the Kingsport easement, so that first agenda item there, to say, let's see, like I provided background regarding the cure issue and decision made by the Conservancy Board, who voted in September to recommend that the city request the removal of the gate. Just to make it clear that we're like the recommendatory body and the city is the one that ultimately does the letter writing and all those kind of clear things.
So it's who voted in September to recommend
That the city requests the removal of the gate.
that the city requests
Yeah.
the removal of the gate? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, just to separate that. And then under the, I guess it's item 4, Premier of Greenway Map Input Tool. I just wanted to say that, so I explained that the ACB has been working with Sean Wampler to find a way to include ideas from other boards and community leaders. And this work has culminated into a Greenway map. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so it's the first sentence, right?
Yep.
It says, explain that the ACB has been working with Sean Wampler, and then I lost you.
That's fine. To find a way to include ideas from other boards and community leaders.
And then get rid of the other part until we get to the word culminating?
Until you get to in a Greenway map.
Okay, all right.
All right, that's awesome. Yeah, and the only other thing I think was under the boundary surveys. The city has signed an MOU with the Critical Area Commission that will allow in lieu of fees to be used for boundary surveys. And I can send that to you, but I'm not sure, and that's a question I'll have. I don't know if Racine, you can answer that, or Ashley, but if the monies have actually been moved yet from the Critical Area Commission to the city. It sounded like that was on hold the last time we caught up.
I don't know. They don't let me touch money, so I'll defer to Racine.
Yeah, and it's been Jackie that's been working specifically on this issue, so I don't have an answer for you.
That's okay. Yeah, so Tammy, it's just so Chair Ogburn noted that the city had signed an MOU.
Signed an MOU.
With the Critical Area Commission.
Okay.
That will allow in lieu of fees to be used for boundary surveys.
Okay.
And
then get rid of the rest of that stuff. Get rid of the rest of that sentence.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Or no, you can keep that. You can keep the rest.
Okay.
And the next step is to check with Miss Leonard.
Okay. All right.
Get ready, Miss Leonard. All right. And then yeah, the only other thing was under the new ACB member. I think Linda, it's LYNDA.
Yep,
right?
I noticed that. Yep.
Ah, awesome. Okay. That's it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, sweet. Okay.
In that case, I'd be happy to second the minutes with your additions. I think we had Tom moved it, right?
Yeah, I think we may need to have a first again, just to
right.
say with the edits, and then we can do a second. Sorry.
Tom, you want to do that? I'll be happy to move the minutes with the edits.
All right, we've got a first. Do we have a second?
Yeah, this is, I'll do the second. We'll just do a reverse. It's fumbled fingers here on the,
Sorry, didn't mean to rush you.
No, these things are always tricky. No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm actually gonna, if you guys are okay with this, I want to flip the next two agenda items and talk about the annual report first before we go into the chair and vice chair elections. Is that okay?
Okay.
Joanna, I'm gonna put Miss Frost as an abstain on the minutes because she wasn't.
Right.
So I just want to make that on the note, on the record.
No, that sounds good. Does that make sense, Linda?
Yes. Yep.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Yeah, and I didn't mean anything weird by that, Trudy. I just wanted folks to
No,
hear.
I didn't mean anything weird by it either. I just read the rules of procedure and they scared me a lot because I do not remember a notion that our chairman could not serve another term.
Oh!
And that sort of, so we don't have those rules of procedures adopted yet. And so I sort of like the order of the agenda, to be honest. Because
Well, we could do that first. I thought it might be nice for folks to hear the annual report, what we did this year and what we're thinking of doing next year, and maybe it'll pique someone's interest that they want to join on at a certain level. So that was my only thinking there, Trudy. Is that okay with you guys?
Sure.
Trying to whet your appetites. Get everyone excited here.
Just to reveal my position on the election.
That's right. Put all your cards on the
Then
table.
for those we do have Karen with her history, but believe me, the amount of history that is contained in the existing leadership is really critical. But that speech is predating the procedure, so.
That's right.
You go right ahead.
Hold your horses. All right.
I know. I just got too excited.
No worries. So the annual report, I really apologize, guys, for getting that out to you just yesterday. Trudy did a great job of putting the first draft together. I didn't have to do much with it. She got it to me earlier this week, and it's just been a crazy week, so I apologize for that. Have you guys had a chance to look through that? You could just nod or give me a thumbs up.
I'm afraid I've had a really busy day, so I'm just looking at just now.
That's okay. No worries. I can hit the highlights real quick for you. And yeah, hopefully that'll cover any questions, Tom, that may come. I'm sorry, I can't see you doing thumbs up. I just realized that. I'll have to try something else. Virtual meetings. So, all right, I just wanted to go over what we did last year, which is pretty exciting. So one of the big things we started with early on was we worked with the city to come up with a few goals and strategies that we really wanted to see them incorporate into the 2020 update of their comprehensive plan. So you can see what those are here. We've talked about them in the past. I think the idea is also that these are things that we would continue to work on as a board alongside city members. So these are things we've gone over before for Linda. One of them is developing a Greenway plan, which I know you've certainly heard a lot about. Also enacting that MOU with the county that will make it easier for us to access program open space funding that they hold on behalf of the city. And we'll hear hopefully a little bit more about that a little bit later on tonight. We also just want to keep improving communication and coordination between city departments and boards and make sure there's an opportunity for us to review any development or permit applications or proposals that are coming in that are on properties where there's an existing easement or next to properties that have an easement on them, that we can know about it and make comments as needed and hopefully stave off any kind of confusion as well. Another big goal was making sure that public open space, green space access was available to everyone across the community. And one strategy we thought would be good to start with is looking at all city-owned properties for their potential. And of course, the work with that Greenway map is part of that effort as well. All right, any questions on that? One thing we got through last year, pretty good. We did most of our easement inspections, all that got taken care of. We kickstarted the Greenway map, which has been really exciting. I chatted with some city staff today about it. I'll give you guys an update a little bit later on. Got the MOU signed with the Critical Area Commission. I know that doesn't sound as exciting as it doesn't sound exciting, I guess, signing an MOU, but that was what, I don't know, Racine, maybe you know, Karen, that was like 3 or 4 years, 3 years maybe in the works, 2 years, I can't remember. It's been a while. It's been a long time. So that was a huge advancement. And for us, that means that there's funds at the city that can be used to do boundary surveys, which, as you've talked about before, we generally need to do a boundary survey anytime we're creating a new easement. So that's kind of put on hold any advancement in us looking at new easements. So this is actually a big win. And I feel like I want to like make a note of that and say thank you to the city, Ashley Leonard, Racine, Jackie, and everybody here just for continuing to push that forward, because that's a big deal for us as a board. We couldn't really move forward on much without it. So yeah, just a big thank you to all you guys. It's good. Good? Everyone like it? We're good? Okay. All right. There we are. Yes. Okay. What else did we get done? Working on that MOU with the county about program open space funds. We've had some conversations with planning and zoning about how we can work closely with them on proposals and permits. I think that's a conversation we'll pick up again now that Brian has shifted his position and Racine, we're working with you. He was sort of a key coordination piece there. And yeah, we'll have to revisit that. And I think those are the major activities from last year. What I really wanted to get to with you guys today is what our goals are for 2021 and make sure the ones we listed in this annual report sound right to you, and see if you guys have other ones that you think really are high up on the list for you guys of things we should try to accomplish this year. One, continue to increase that cooperation with city departments, like I've talked about. A big one that I would love to work on with city staff, and I know we've talked to some folks in planning and Jackie as well, and Racine, I may be reaching out to you to see what your thoughts are on this. But one thing I think we would love is to have updated maps of all of our conservation easements that show the exact boundaries. That's one of the issues we ran into with the Kingsport questions that have come up recently. That is one of the more complicated easements. Not all of them are that complicated, but looking at the plats and making sure we know exactly where those boundary lines are. And in something that we can take out as volunteers who may not be as familiar with plats all the time, something we have that we can take out when we're in the field that, we can make sure we're looking at the right places and identify problems in the right areas. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Joanna, when you say updated maps of the easements, I thought there was something on the city's website, or at least there used to be, that listed the easements, and I've been there a few times and I've clicked on the PDFs that come up and whatnot. The aerial photos are not really clear. There are things like that. And so is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think and board members jump in here, it's nice to have that sort of aerial photo. It's easy to sort of look and see if we're in the right place and looking at the right pieces of the property, but it's the boundary lines that are drawn on those maps.
Yeah, there's no map to reference the aerial photos to. I think that's, I don't know, but it's not completely clear.
Yeah, and it's, some of them are a little bit off. We know, now that some of those lines.
You're looking to hopefully update that web page or the information within the web page?
Yes. The individual maps, like you're talking about, those satellite photos that have a red boundary line around where the easement is, we want to make sure that red boundary line for the easement is in the exact right place. Those maps were made a long time ago, before my tenure here. So I some of them are they're not 100% accurate, I guess is what I would say. Just so we make sure, we know exactly where all the different pieces of an easement are on a given property.
Okay, so this is going to be one of your goals for 2021 January to December. By the end of December, hopefully have that updated.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Well, okay. All right.
Yeah, we don't have to go super fast. Yeah, that's right. I don't want to overwhelm anybody. Yeah, we've got. I think definitely a priority is the Kingsport one, and then probably some of the more complicated ones we can kind of move down the priority list.
All right.
But yeah, that would be great. Any comments from you guys, board members, about that?
I
One
just,
of the things that I've found helpful is once we have a accurate, updated map of the boundary, you can take paper maps out in the field as well, but if you have a PDF of a map that has these, let's just call it georeferences in the PDF, like a GIS person has developed the map, you can load the PDF on your phone into this program called Avenza. When you're on the property, you can see where you are on the property. And I'm sure there's other tools like that too. So that's another way that it's helpful to understand where you are in relation to the boundary when you're on the property and you're inspecting properties.
Yeah, that could be cool. I think, yeah, maybe at like a future meeting, if you want to,
yeah, that'd be great.
yeah, kind of walk all of us through what that looks like, what you can do with it. I don't know if you guys are interested. I think that would be cool. And
I think
yeah.
after we get the updated maps, we should have that training session for us. Because yeah, I agree. When you go out and you're standing there, it's pretty hard to feel like you know exactly what you're to look at. So that'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. All right, sweet. This is exciting. All right, so that's a good goal. And the Avenza training, I think, would be a good thing to do also this year if we can do that. All right, so I put in here developing and adopting rules of procedure so that we have a consistent process. And the reason I put it in here wasn't so much for the tenure of the positions, although that's something we should probably chat about, but is more so to have a procedure when we get an easement complaint or an easement issue comes up. So for example, as you guys may recall, when we had this latest issue we worked through with the Kingsport Community Association, we didn't have any set process for, do we always invite someone from both sides of the issue? Do we invite them to the same meeting? Should I be talking to both sides? Should the city staff be, what do we do when someone comes to us and says, hey, I think there's been an infraction or whatever on this easement and we want to present to your board? What's the process we follow? And just making sure that's consistent and that folks know what that is who are bringing a complaint to us. To me, I think that would be super helpful because there was a lot of back and forth at that time with me and different folks at the city to figure out which of us needs to do what and when and what's the right way to go about this. So I think it would be nice to have a laid out procedure that feels like fair and equitable, that kind of thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Does that make sense?
And at this point, you're talking about this being in one of our goals for the year. Is that?
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just kind of figuring that bit out. Yeah, Karen, Tom, Linda, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's wise.
Yeah. It's one of the things they asked for, the community association, to see, and we said, well, we don't have any. So it's like, you can't say we're not following them. No, that's not how we should be doing it. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, and technically under the city code, you guys are supposed to adopt some. So it would be a good goal to accomplish as well.
Exactly.
And the point, the goal of these procedures are to further elaborate the bylaws. Is that right? They're not to repeat or change the bylaws, but they're an elaboration of how we do things. Okay.
Yeah, does that sound right, Ashley?
Yes. And I drafted up some that I think I've only sent to Joanna, but they're purely a baseline. And you guys are allowed to, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, you can change them as you need.
Well, we'll check with you to make sure that we're on the up and up. I don't want to get in trouble. So that, for me, that was the driver to get these procedures up, was just making sure we have that clear process. Another thing we kind of talk about every year, and I think it'd be good to try and dig into this a little bit more, but how do we better inform and engage property owners that have an easement to make sure they know that we're coming out or that we have come out, and anything we found that they may want to work on the easement. And Linda, to kind of give you some background, and you probably run into this in your job, there are a number of easements that are on HOA properties, so homeowners associations, and who's sort of the head of those changes through the years. And sometimes there really isn't someone to contact. So that's been I think a big challenge for us, is sometimes you don't really know who the right person is to contact. And so I can't say I know how to solve all that right now, but I think that would be a good thing to get a decent working list of who we can contact and make sure people know when we are a little pup, when we are going out to places and when we've any problems. Oh, yeah. Oh, you've got is that a senior dog there, Racine?
Yeah, he's 11 years old. He's an old man.
Yeah, I have an old lady who's just about to turn 12. We'll have to get them together. She's bored. Sorry, I always digress for animals in the photos.
Mine's asleep, but
yeah. Okay, and then some of the bigger ones that we want to work on this year that are kind of exciting. So one is, now that we have funds for the boundary surveys and we've done some initial work to look at what properties we think could be potential easement candidates, and we probably need to brush up and check on those again, is to take the next steps, right? And reach out to some property owners, reach out to some different folks and see, is this a possibility? I think that's pretty awesome, but I don't know, when the board was, how long it's been since we've been able to do that. So yeah, who knows if we'll get any takers, but it's exciting to have an opportunity. And as part of that, also looking at the couple of city-owned properties that we've talked about in the past, putting easements on with the Maryland Environmental Trust. And the big priority there, which we've all talked about before, is Hawkins Cove, right? That property right next to Truxton Park. So that would be a huge, I think, win if we're able to secure that in 2021. So yeah, fingers crossed on that. And then hopefully also getting produced a draft or at least an initial Greenway map in 2021 and getting that incorporated into the 2020 comprehensive plan update. And I keep calling it the 2020 comprehensive plan update because I think that's what it was initially called, but it's still in process, just so you know. It hasn't passed. Actually chatted with the city staff today, and I think it's looking like they'll probably get the first draft out to the public closer to May. So we still have some time there, which is kind of nice. Okay, so those are some of the top things that Trudy put on there. I had a couple. Are there any other ideas that have come to your mind over the past year, things that you think we should really work on, or would be good goals, short-term or long-term, for the board?
Just a couple ideas. The first one might already be kind of covered, but just along the lines of trying to make connections for recreation paths. So, like part of the reason why we want to put an easement on the Hawkins Cove parcel is to connect the ability to walk all the way around Spa Creek on existing paths. And so, but maybe that's kind of covered already with the Greenway easement or with the Greenway mapping project. I'm not sure, but I think that would be a good thing to work on, because as soon as the maps are adopted, then that's something we could start working on pretty quickly, because then it's just a matter of getting the easement on the city parcel and then establishing the trails, basically. So something that could happen pretty quickly. And then another thing I was thinking about, which is kind of maybe more out of left field, but is that is thinking about maybe trying to do something about invasive species in some of the easements, especially on city-owned property, and in particular vines going up trees. Like I don't know that we can really do much about, like multiflora rose or some of the other things that are like kind of the understory of the forest, but I think there are a few easements that have a lot of problems with vines climbing up the trees, and so which is a little bit easier because you can just cut the vines around the girth of the tree, and that should hopefully kill it. So maybe that's something we could look into seeing about.
Yeah, comments on that? Oh, Trudy, you're on mute. Sorry. Oh, still on mute.
There you go.
There we go. Sorry.
I had to go. I'm fine with the fine. I really love the first thing Karen said, because we had that in our goals about more access to recreation. And I think putting a more action statement for 2021 would be great. And it's become part of our city's, recreational equality issue that's raised up. And I think we agreed as a commission, we want to do what we could to help that issue, that when these paths got people to be able to enjoy water or other things, that was so, whatever that language would be in the active goals for next year to further advance, or, whatever Karen said so well, further advance that in 2021, because we're going to get them on maps. But after that, as we know, there's things like bridges and paths and, so anyway, I'd love to see that more actively for 2021. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I will add that into the 2021 work goals before we send this in. It's due tomorrow, which is always, hey, we're a day ahead of this. That's pretty good. So I've got a note to do that. Yeah. Linda, did you have something?
No, I would just second that or third that, actually. And so it sounds like we're trying to raise that up as when we have the map and we're setting about looking at how we could engage landowners. Let's look at those public access opportunities as a priority and those connections.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. And Karen, on your point, yeah, I'm gonna have to get into this today. I know we're doing this as goals. I just started thinking who could help with that, and that probably goes beyond what the city can help with. Helping to get down those vines and things.
I mean, if it's on city-owned property, that's something that we could probably make arrangements through Public Works or something. I'm not sure. Maybe we can organize a day of volunteering, engage the community. COVID's crazy. We don't know how that's going to play a role. But the maintenance of the easements, I don't know if that's something that is in writing anywhere.
Yeah. But the city-owned properties, I think that makes sense. So that's a good one. And I know the Naval Academy has, they'll go out and do big volunteer events. What I've heard with those folks in the past is you need a big project because they bring like 100 students. It's like it's a little overwhelming. I don't know all the details.
They've done that before for our easements. At least I'm pretty sure they did for Harborview, that they went and cut English ivy vines.
Oh,
it was a long time ago.
That's good to know. That's perfect.
But they've done it maybe 10 years ago.
Hey, well, it's good to know.
Yeah. I mean, Racine and Karen, to that point, I think that as a volunteer opportunity, that's very interesting to think about, because it also raises the visibility that there actually is an easement on that property.
Yeah.
It's an educational opportunity.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, absolutely. And then
I'd say that the goal would be something like to, develop more active outreach to the city and volunteers to help us maintain and improve the easement areas. I'm sure in addition to vines, there's other things, but yeah, I totally agree. And that would really highlight that that's a precious area to the community too. Yeah,
that's good.
That's cool.
Does that sound good to everybody? If that's the kind of language, develop outreach to city and volunteers to maintain and improve easement areas. Does that work? Okay.
Yeah, we could like pilot a site or something.
Yeah, that would be good. And
the best approach.
Yeah, and Racine, I totally hear what you're saying. I don't know about volunteer stuff right now, but we'll get past this COVID stuff at some point here. We'll get past it. Yes, indeed. Okay, that's awesome, you guys. All right. Any other goals coming to mind? I have one I wanted to revisit. And I think Trudy may have been the one to mention this, but it came up when we were talking about the Kingsport issues, and it was we may be adding too much to 2021. I recognize that. I'm just recognizing it. But I was thinking about the language in the easements. Taking a look at what that standard is, and Ashley, obviously you would be key in this area, and seeing if it's right for us. I know there was a big question that came up, and there was some confusion initially that I think folks thought on our board that public access was a requirement in the easement language, and it's not in the ones that have been drafted. I don't think it's in any of them. I can't say I've read through all of them, but I doubt that it is. But that's something you can look at when you do write an easement. It's not typically boilerplate, I don't think. And Linda, I see you've got a little comment coming over there. If you can jump in, you know this better than I do.
Well, I think, I'm interested to know what is the last easement that we accepted. I did see a list and it seemed like it had been quite a while.
Yeah, I would think so.
Working on a template, I mean, I think most entities work from a template. Understanding that every property is different, but you do base it off a model template. We haven't processed an easement in like years, starting with brushing up on the template with the legal eyes and everyone else, I think is probably should be on our to-do list.
Yeah, if I can just speak to the history a little bit.
Yeah.
Traditionally, and I think possibly all or most of our easements have come to us through the development process. Like this board was kind of created with the mind, like to accept easements that came in through negotiation between the city and some land developers about preserving portions of their property for conservation easement. So I think that's maybe why there hasn't been any in a while, because there haven't been any developments of like virgin land per se.
Yeah.
Like it's been more, I think most of the, because like Crystal Spring is still under contention, and like I think Rocky Gorge might have been the last one that we got. I'm not sure if that got, but that one hasn't really been built yet. So I think there might have been an easement with that, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But anyway, that may be why there hasn't been one in a while, is because it comes through the development process. Although we did get one, it was just like a year or two ago.
Parkside Preserve, right?
Yeah, I did the Parkside Preserve. I do have a general template, although I'm happy to send it to you guys for your input. Most of the ones I've worked on have not been directly with you guys. They've been through the development process. We did do a fairly big one for Parkside Preserve, but they're still building that. So I'm not sure if
and we got one with that retirement community.
Bay something.
Bay Village.
Bay Village.
Yeah, Brig. The entity name is Brig, I think. BRIG. Okay. And then I think Newtown 20 LLC is going to do one as well. They're developing over. So I'll see what I have in my files that is recent. And
there is a standard template that we spend a lot of time on the board negotiating with the city lawyers at that time to put together the language. Yeah. But that was quite a while ago.
I used that as my base, and then I updated it a year or two ago. I want to say maybe a couple more years than that, but it was based off of what you guys had created, and I just sort of brought it further. But we can bring it further. I'll send all that out, and I'll see what the most recent ones I have are.
Okay. Yeah, because I know at the time that we came up with the standard language, like before that, every single one was different, and it like that had been done as an attempt to try to make them all the same, so that we would know what.
Don't drive yourself crazy.
Like there was like some consistency about like what was included or not included. Because I remember at the time there was a big discussion about because our city liaison at the time felt very strongly that the city should be allowed to put infrastructure into the easement if they ever needed to. And so like there was a lot of back and forth about that. So it does allow for that. And I think that was why, so for example, the Crystal Spring development, like they weren't going to use our standard, they weren't going to get an easement through us with our standard language because it would allow the city to put a road in, because the language is that
I
loose.
think I think on that project they're using some outside entity who's going to hold the conservation easement, if I'm correct.
But that was why, because they came and talked to us about it, and we told them like, look, our standard language allows the city to build infrastructure in the easement.
I wasn't tasked on that, but I do think I have a draft floating around of what that one looks like as well.
Yeah.
So I could send that to you as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like 4 mayors ago, but it was a while ago.
Yeah, I'll send what I can. I always value input into my forms because I don't tend to change the substantive stuff. I tend to change the legal stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't, mess around. But if you guys want any changes, I'm open to them, and I can run them by Deputy City Manager Guild and Director Nash, who would probably be the two most interested in what's going on.
This may have been said at some point, or you've grappled with this based on a type of easement you've received in the past, but it does seem to me that if we're talking about taking what I would say more proactive posture, like identifying on a map areas of interest and actually doing outreach, those are voluntary easements. And in my world, there's also a lot of like tax related language in there because there are federal and potentially state tax donations available to landowners if those easements have the right components, versus, landowners who are through the development process doing an easement, they don't get a deduction. So I think sometimes, I've not really looked at a lot of the easement types where you're just getting it through the development process. I've always worked in the sort of the more voluntary world. So I'm unfamiliar with those, but I think
there's a difference.
They're going to look a bit different.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and things have changed as well with the way the Forest Conservation Act has changed. And so it needs to be updated for that as well.
Good point.
Woo, well, that sounds like fun, Ashley. I'm excited for you.
Since my tenure with the city, I've probably updated and standardized close to 100 forms. So it's, whatever. No big deal.
This is great and good. So I'm writing that down. So Forest Conservation Act changes, and then your differences between voluntary easements and ones that come through the development process, right? Like that they're going to have different things in them. Okay. Easements and ones through development process. Okay. All right. So through this discussion, we have thought to add to our kind of optimistic work goals. We're going to add also do something about looking for connections for recreational trails and those public access opportunities as we do our work, with a specific, I think, statement maybe at looking one related to Hawkins Cove. So that's 1, 2, developing outreach to city and volunteers to maintain and improve the easement areas. Sorry, I can't read my writing. All right, and then the third one here, I guess, will be developing or maybe updating or revisiting model templates for easements. So I got those 3. Did I get it all? Does that sound right? Looks good.
I have a general question. I don't know if it relates to goals or even the philosophy of our board, but it seems, well, first of all, the idea that nothing has come to us in so long. I'm sitting here, in my head going through new developments. There's a new tax credit housing project up by the Monarch School. How did they get off not having an easement? I feel like there's been more development happening than easements, and I just in general, I think this hodgepodge of we get some, some go here, some go there. I mean, should it be some kind of long-term goal to try to have, I mean, wouldn't it be something if a person should just go to the ACB board website and find all the easements in Annapolis? I mean, is that like, I mean, because we're managing them, I mean, it's a very aggressive stand, or at least begin to be the central coordinating place. If they're not, you know, they're all set, so we're not going to change their documents now, but some notion that we're the central coordinator for all the easements, ones that we manage and inspect, and ones that I don't even know how they get done, honestly, without coming to us, but we don't go into that now. You guys know. But it just seems like such a hodgepodge system that wouldn't it be better if the city said, we created that board, it's their job to be the central location to tell interested, at least where the easements are and who controls them or whatever. And I don't know if people, maybe that's for 2022, we have enough, but it just seems.
Well, I can add that to my list. I mean, part of that might have to be a discussion with planning and zoning. But they do, I just got assigned to you guys within the last couple of months. I had always assumed that they were going to you. Most of them do flow through me. So I can start including you guys now that I was not aware that they weren't coming to you, I guess. But I pretty much handle all the easements that go out of the city, including conservation easements. So I can start sending you guys all the ones I have. And I even have some historical records, but I don't know if I have them all. And then as they come through, I can always add them to agenda points to let you know that there's one still moving through. I didn't realize there was that disconnect, to be honest.
No,
We've been asking for years to try to get a comprehensive list, because there are some easements out there that we know aren't on the list that's on the website.
yeah,
But that was what
it's exciting.
Maria Broadbent's intern a while ago was supposed to be doing, but then it seemed like that
Did a decent job,
didn't
but-
get finished or something. Like some more got added, but maybe there's still some
Yeah,
more missing.
I'll ask Maria what you started with and see what I can add to it.
Okay.
I sort of became sort of the hodgepodge depository for documents nobody else wanted. So I have an array of things in my office.
Huh.
I
But-
do think things have got the waters have gotten kind of muddied with the the Forest Conservation Act, because I think that, Trudy was kind of asking the question of like, why isn't every development required to have an easement? They do have to go through the Forest Conservation Act process, and so they are supposed to be investigated for that, like that kind of thing. But I'm not sure, since it's going through that process now, and that process has finally become, codified and more clear. I think then maybe it's not so much coming through us anymore. So it's just like another, I think that thing, and I'm a little bit confused now as well about like how that all works. But I think that maybe part of it is because of new procedures when the city adopted their Forest Conservation Act protocols.
Well, what if for 2021 goals, we just simply said we want to further our understanding of the current easement system and see what we can do to work towards more comprehensive information and coordination of all of the easement sites, or just some general thing that declares we're going to pay a little more attention to trying to advance it just seems like, well, a little town, it shouldn't have all these different, different,
Yeah.
if we're trying
Well,
to
for an example of another, is it that you're talking about through the development process, there are other city entities that are getting the easements?
No, I think it's more, I think Trudy, what you're saying, and I know I've had these questions too, that it's just sort of like, Karen, become a bit muddied or unclear when or where in the development process they decide to do an easement, and we're never brought on at that point. Like when things have happened in the past 5 years, at least when I've been on, and Karen, it's probably very different before that, but like with Maria, she would just kind of come to the board and say like, oh, we've got an easement on this such and such, and I think like, what is this? Like, shouldn't we have known about it, or like, been part of that discussion kind of thing? And so and then like Karen's saying, I think now with the Forest Conservation Act, it's a little bit more unclear. So I think part of it, at least in my mind, Trudy, I may not be expressing what your thoughts were, but it's just We know that there's sort of this process, right, when developments are coming through where an easement could be created. And that's maybe a point where we could be brought in at that point, and just to either be aware that the conversation is happening, or contribute our two thoughts, or what have you. Think. Is that right, Trudy? I don't know, Karen.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I feel like all the years I've been on the board, and as Linda just sort of called my attention to it, you know, we don't see any new east. Well, there's development going on, you know. I mean,
Something must be happening.
Yeah, well, part of it too is that our ability to where we're allowed to be in the process has changed from administration to administration. So when I first joined the board, the planning and zoning under the director at that time always came to us when they saw something. But then we had a new administration and a different director, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, you have to go to the Board of Appeals if you want to make those comments, or you have to go to the planning board to make those comments during the public comment period. And that's sort of where we've been stuck since then. So because we did at one point have on, years ago, we tried to create a formal MOU between this board and planning and zoning that they would always bring, that they would consider us an official commenting, I don't know, entity, so that they would always bring it to us, but they didn't want to do that. So then, so it didn't happen because they were like, well, we don't want to hold up the process while we're waiting for comments for you guys or whatever. Yeah, I can understand that, but that was sort of why we tried to do that, was because we could see a time where there might be a different director of planning who wouldn't want us, who might not be as work as closely with our board, and so we were trying to preserve that relationship. And so I don't know what the resolution is, but I'm just to give you some background on how things have evolved over time.
No, it's so nice to have your brain, Karen, here to give us that kind of history always. It's awesome. So what I'm thinking is in the work goals, we've got one here that's about enhancing cooperation with city departments, and especially planning. I think this can be part of that. And I can just maybe adjust the language a little bit to say, as well as the stuff we have in there, also looking at sort of the easement creation process when it comes to development easements, and what role the ACB could play there, kind of thing.
Just some general language that says we're looking for a more orderly understanding of what's going on. But
what is happening? Yeah. Jackie, do you have your hand raised? Or are you?
Yes, I do. I'm wondering if Karen or Ashley can shed some light on the history they have with easements. Do we have easements on our parks? There's a
We've got a dog asleep behind and a cat ahead. Hey, Jackie, before we do anything else, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's been about a month now.
That's a heavy-duty title.
It's a heavy title. I can never remember.
Way too long.
Do you have to display that in your personal life too?
No.
Resiliency and something else.
Yeah. I just call it RNS and leave it at that.
Good.
Answer the question is no, we don't have easements on our city parks. Yeah. That's something we've been trying to do as a board.
Yeah.
Boundary.
We're excited about that opportunity now that we've got the money. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you guys should think about that. I'm thinking about Truxton Park. I'm thinking about Waterworks Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been wanting to do. That was why we wanted needed the funds for a boundary survey. Because we had started that process, but then we got stymied by the fact that we didn't have a boundary survey of those parcels.
Yeah. Right. I thought that's what you mentioned a while ago, Karen. Yeah. So, yep.
Yeah. And I want to come back to that for sure, too.
Yeah.
You jump in more on that. Yeah.
Come up and be
here's another cat. Look at this. Okay.
There was some concern, because at one point there was discussion. I mean, it was a while ago, so hopefully that ship has sailed. But at one point there was some discussion on the city council about selling land that the city didn't need. And so then we got kind of worried about okay, we want to get some easements on things so they don't get sold.
It's a good thing to do.
That's where Hawkins Cove came into the picture.
Yeah.
Especially
Right.
on sites that are not really activated. So if you have some land that's,
Yeah.
you know, and we've seen that in the county a little
Yeah.
bit, is, you know, if there's no public funding that went into it that actually ties the city's hands in terms of reselling it or taking it under sort of a regulatory, you know, you're accepting it as parkland, so you need to keep it that way. If lands are not activated, you don't have that big, you know, community engagement, and they're going to fight to kind of prevent selling the land. So
Yeah.
those more
Oh.
dormant sites.
Which raises the point, I meant to follow up with Ashley about this. Did we ever get a final copy of our agreement with the Critical Area Commission?
I believe so. I can go to my emails right now and check, but yes, I believe we did. I think their board
Okay.
ruled on it, but I'll
I
check.
know they ruled on it, yeah, so it should be done, and I just want to make sure that the city signed everything and the Critical Area Commission signed everything so that we can go ahead and start implementing that MOU.
I know we signed it, but let me check. I'll turn my video off and go
Okay,
check right
because
now.
just to let you know, Joanna, know, I don't know if Racine told you, but so I jumped in right when you guys were talking about Hawkins Cove. We have about $81,000 in that critical area fee and lieu account. And that could be used for, you know, surveys, obviously. And I know Truxton Park would be a huge survey if we did that.
It will. Yeah, that'll be a little bit. It's just like a pet parade tonight. This is. Where's my dog?
Actually,
I
there
have
are
one down
there are
here.
three cats and a dog in the room with me right now.
Oh, you win.
And they
win.
bookend my computer. So and also I just wanted to mention about Hawkins Cove. Do you guys know what's going on there?
I know you built the bridge.
Yeah, well, there's a so what we're exploring with the Chesapeake Bay Trust is kind of a restoration project for Hawkins Cove. But to back it up a little bit and do some charrettes community engagement kind of meetings involving all the community, including the Haka property residents, and what they would like to see at that location. We talk a lot about, you know, trying to engage the public and implement what they would like to use for recreation, et cetera, and improve water access for communities. So that's the objective there. And the trust has now come around to, in order, I mean, they're about water quality and ecological uplift, but in order to get to those goals, they're willing to do some other non-traditional trust type activities, like putting in, you know, picnic benches there, tables there, a bocce court, whatever people want, putting in a floating dock or a regular dock there so that there could be some kayak launches and fishing. You really can't, you wouldn't want kids coming down and using that area right now. For those of you who have been down there, it's silted in so much that it's actually dangerous. You know, people will get stuck in the mud there. So we're looking at a living shoreline, also building upon what the Spot Creek Conservancy did upstream with their step pool conveyance system to slow down the volume of the water that's carrying so much sediment down that steep slope to the headwaters there. And I know that the Mid-Atlantic Off-Road Enthusiast group that did the trail renovation in Waterworks Park has put in a little stream crossing between Hawkins Cove and where you cross over, and then you have to get to the road and then to the Truxton Park. But there's a little stream there. It's really rocky. So they've built a little bridge, a pedestrian bike bridge there. But so we're talking to the trust later this week about this whole idea, and I'll probably have to write a grant to get the funding to do this work.
So, all right. So I'll get back to the annual report in just a second, but I do it. So Jackie, to that point, I think it would definitely be great for us to keep chatting with you about this because, so as we're thinking about an easement for Truxton Park, right, like we were just talking about, what we've also always talked about is putting an easement on that adjacent Hawkins Cove property. But that obviously needs to jive with, you know, if you're going to have community charrettes and they say we want this or this, that could change the ability to put an easement on it, or it could shift what's in the language of an easement. So for example, like if there's basketball courts, that's something like MET would not want to hold an easement on.
Right.
So that'd be good to keep, if that sounds good to you, to keep chatting about this, just to make sure we're pursuing.
That's why I wanted to mention the project, because
Yeah.
I know you guys are thinking about it.
No, I think it's exciting. This is really good to see.
Yeah.
This is awesome. So, all right, to wrap up this agenda item, so we were just going over our goals for 2021, Jackie, and I wanted to get from you guys that if you guys are okay to move ahead with the annual report as we have it, with the additions that we just talked about, with additional coordination with the planning department, the making more connections with recreational trails piece, invasive species, and the getting sort of a base easement template up and running. Yeah, can I have a motion on the annual report?
Well, since I probably know it's second best to you, I'll move approval of the annual report. I've at least read it.
I'll second that.
Awesome. Okay, all right, so we've got that going. Okay,
Do we need to vote?
oh,
All in favor?
always forget that. I'm terrible at that. Yes, all in favor, say aye.
Who made the second? I'm sorry.
Linda.
Linda moved
okay.
to the second, and I'll
Thank
have to go around to everybody just because it's weird virtual format. Yeah, I guess say I'll just walk around. All right, so Linda, could you share your vote?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Trudy,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
and Tom. Oh, Tom, if you're able to come off mute, I just want to make sure we got your vote.
Okay, yeah, you can make that unanimous.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Sorry to slow that down. Thank you for the reminder, Karen. I don't know why I cannot remember to do that. Awesome. Okay, so we should probably do to make sure we get this in the chair and vice chair elections, because I know we have to do that today. Yeah, all right. So as I mentioned, I think earlier, so Meg Hosmer reached out to me earlier this week. Her term, I think, is up, and she is going to resign from the board, at least temporarily for a while. So she has been our vice chair. I've been serving as our chair. That's the current status. I am certainly more than open to having anybody else that would be interested in serving as chair to do that.
I would like to nominate you for another term as our chair.
You're the worst. Okay. Right.
I just think you're so good at it.
That's nice.
Organizing us and what you know about the subject and moving us along.
Yeah, no, that's very kind. Thank you. If anybody else wants to do it, please chime in, because I'm happy to relinquish that. All right, no takers. Okay, well, how about if you're laughing, Jackie, this could happen to you. What how about vice chair? Anybody? Cats, dogs, if you want to chime in.
Linda, would you like to do this? You're new and knowledgeable, and
is it a precursor to becoming the chair? No, I'm happy to do it. Is Meg the current vice chair? Is that, are we?
Yeah, Meg was the current, vice chair.
I'm surprised she's leaving us. She's been such a trooper.
I know, yeah, and I think she's planning on writing an email to the board. I'm not sure, but yeah, I know.
Well, my view of the leadership of this board is Karen set the bar high when I joined, and I just think you really need to understand this field, that people like myself, other people, we can kind of help you and root you along in ideas, but it feels like a specialty to me that we need people who have a occupational overlap with it to me, but
it's just punting. No, but no, just kidding. Yeah, Karen, Tom, Linda, thoughts?
The thoughts about being vice chair? Is that what you're asking?
Or chair, yeah, it's all open.
Well, I
know you've done a lot.
I have a lot on my plate right now with my mother having just passed, so I don't really think I have the time for it, unfortunately.
No, and you've done a lot of time as the chair too, I know, so.
I'll do a vice chair if no one else wants to do it.
I didn't mean to overlook you at all, Karen. I just knew how long you had served in leadership of this board. So.
Yeah, Linda, I think if you're interested, I think the opening is there, and yeah. So obviously the basics of it are is if I can't make it to a meeting, that you would sort of step in and do the running of the meeting thing, but yeah, there aren't any official duties, I will say at this point, although I would love the more duties you want, the more you can have. So just the sky is the limit here, Linda. Don't. But no, there's not a lot of specific duties that we have listed out. The main thing is just if I can't be at a meeting or something, that that you could step in. Okay, Tom, I want to make sure if you had any comments or thoughts or ideas you wanted to share, that you have the opportunity to do that.
I think as far as your nomination, I will back up and allow that to proceed, because I too concur that you've brought a lot to the table. So, and I think we're moving in a good direction. This just goes back to, while we're doing things, I think we're still only because while sitting here, I'm going more through some of the COVID stuff that's crossing my desk. And one of the, the issues is this is going to take a heck of a lot longer. So I think a lot of our time this year is probably going to be spent held closely. Whether you want to make that as you're writing the document for 2021 and 2022, kind of like giving, in advance of what collectively we're looking at, so that any of the good efforts that you've got going now, will carry on over. But I think with all the time and the everybody else's demands on what we're doing to try to comply with all this, I think if you can do it, obviously you've got the background, you've got the knowledge on it, you have my vote. But that's for now.
No, thank you for sharing. All right, well, do we have
I think, do we have to make the motion for each individually?
That's what I was going to ask. Like,
separately, or like?
Yeah, who's in charge of this? No, I'm just kidding. Racine, Jackie, or Tammy, or Ashley?
I think we vote on each of you individually, if I recall.
Why don't you go ahead, Karen?
Okay, so I move that we elect Joanna Ogburn chair for another term.
I'll second that. Since Tom's on mute, I'll.
Yeah, it takes me a while. Yeah, I'll also vote aye.
Okay, so so all in favor say aye, and Tammy, I think we just got an aye from Tom. So yeah, everybody else, yeah, raised. Okay, we're good. I think I heard that from everybody. So that's unanimous there, Tammy. And then I will motion for Linda Frost to serve as the vice chair of the Annapolis Conservancy Board.
I'll second the motion.
All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Did you say aye, Linda?
Oh, aye.
Sorry.
Aye.
Just stare at your box like you know what I'm doing. Okay, thank you, Tom. Okay, it's virtual.
That'll teach you, Linda, to come to a meeting.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Really made a
kind of welcome aboard. Hi, here you've got all this responsibility already. No, this is good.
Yeah.
I too think that you've got the background, which should sail pretty well into some of the things we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, guys. So the Greenway map, we don't need to get into a lot of stuff there. I'll just share a quick update. So we sent the Greenway map input tool I shared with you guys the last meeting. We sent that over to all the boards that the city has. I counted on the website, Jackie, Racine, Ashley, are there 30 boards? Maybe some of them aren't actually considered boards.
No, I think that's about right because I have 7.
So,
and then the 3 other attorneys have between like 4 and 6. So yeah, I would say that's about right.
yeah, so a lot of boards in this city, but so we sent the Greenway map input tool out to all those boards. We sent it to the waterways cabinet, sent it to all the city aldermen, alderwomen, the African American liaison, Hispanic liaison, and some other community leaders that a couple people suggested. Hope I'm not missing anybody, but so we sent all that out to everybody, and we actually took a look today, and I think we have 40 additions to that initial map that came through. Oh, hi, hey, little guy.
That's a cutie.
Yeah,
I noticed that it ended up being available for public comment on Facebook, as I was kind of like, oh, I don't think we really intended for like everybody in the public to comment on this, but okay.
Not aware of that.
Yeah, somebody from the Eastport Neighborhood Forum posted it on Facebook and said, the Conservancy Board is asking for public input on this.
Well,
I was kind of like, did we? I don't think we did, but okay.
We did not, but you know, it's okay. I'm not too concerned. We didn't get anything nasty on there. There's nothing super negative. That's good to know though, Karen. Thank you for that. Yeah, so good news is, I guess more people have seen it than we thought, but it's always good to have community input. So we have gotten a number of people who have gone on and added sites to it, which is awesome. I chatted with the city and with Linda today about where do you go from here, basically, to create a Greenway map. As I know you've had some work with that in the past, Linda, to get some thoughts. And so, as I mentioned, the update is going to run at least through May. So that's when they, I think, expect to put out a full draft of the comprehensive plan for public comment. So we've got some time to figure out what we do with all this great information. And so what I'd love to do is form a little subgroup that can work on this together over the next few months with the city staff. We've been working mostly with Sally Nash, Eric Lahinsky, I'm not sure how you say his last name, and thank you, Jackie, and Eric Borchers as well. So they'll be working with that. But to have a little subgroup here to sort of fine tune some of the input that's come in, and also to help develop and look at some base maps to figure out how do we connect across these ideas. So looking at maps of existing forested lands, existing stream corridors, trail networks to look at how do we make a connection across what's been suggested through that input tool. Hope that makes sense. Questions there? I want to stop. Make sure. Trudy, do you have a question?
You noticed I got pretty quiet there.
You did. I know. That's why I worried. No, I just want to make sure I'm not flying too fast here.
I'm just sitting here thinking that's a really big task, somewhat a little bit technical even, and
daunting.
Where's the city planning and zoning in all of this help? You know, I mean, there are limits to sort of what we can.
Yes. So so Dr. Nash, so she's the head of the planning department, and Eric Lahinsky, who I'm not sure of his title, but he just came on board in the last 6 months or so. And then the other Eric. So there's 2 Erics in planning, 2 Erics and Sally, I think, is the whole planning department. This is what I realized today. But so they are on board with helping and like providing any kind of mapping assistance or what have you. So yeah, it is kind of an ask of us, but they did kind of ask, you know, if you guys can sort of help us start to take the first steps here, and we'll work with you and, you know, learn as we go, kind of thing.
I'd like to be involved in moving it forward.
Yay.
Yay, that's right. Awesome.
I don't want to do it by myself, but
no. I'll go ahead and say that I'm happy to keep working on that subgroup as well.
And I'll help too.
And okay, awesome, Linda. Anybody else? if we get anybody else, it's pretty much the whole board. No, I'm just kidding. I shouldn't say at this point, but
where can we see what comments were made or what?
So you can go to that link that I sent you a while back, but I can send it again to everybody so you've got it fresh. So I'll resend that in an email after this, and yeah, you can see everything that's been added. And on the right it'll show all the individual inputs that have been made. And anything that doesn't say added by Conservancy Board is new. So if you scroll all the way down, you'll see all the ones that we put in. But there's about like 40 above it that have been put in. And then some people have starred which ones they like. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect if we get any input at all. So I was pretty psyched with that.
Joanna?
Yeah, Racine.
It's
Yeah.
Racine. Yeah. Will you send me that link?
Yeah,
so that I can take a
absolutely.
look at the tool?
You want to get on board in the subgroup, Racine? I know come on. No, we'll be bugging you enough. No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, I will send out that link to everybody. It's pretty cool. And I always have to say Sean Wampler developed that, and she was just wonderful to work with. You know, I know she's got a lot of demands on her time, so I really appreciate that. Always sing her praises. Okay, so that's moving forward. Another exciting thing we're making progress on here. Yeah. So that little subgroup, I'll send out an email, Karen and Linda, and kind of say, this is where we are. These are the next steps we're thinking about. Everyone feel good about that. And then we can set up some times to meet virtually.
And after all you smart people have done that, we'll look at it as a board and see kind of what it all resulted in and what your priorities are.
Actually, I think that would be kind of a good timeline, Trudy, if we're able to get to a really good point by our March board meeting. I think that's actually, it's a good deadline for us to work.
It would be at least interesting to know your summation of what you got.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely want to make sure everyone knows. Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good deadline. All right.
I'm loving watching Jackie's cats. They're
all
colors and they're really little show-offs, aren't they? You can know they're walking along your back there. I think the baby wins though.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to beat a baby.
What a cutie.
The baby left. I now have my 3-year-old next to me.
Also
preyed of boys.
All right, so I know we're getting close to 7 o'clock. I hate to keep people too late. The other agenda item I had on here was developing rules of procedure. If you guys want to talk about that now, we can go ahead and think about what rules we want to add to it. I'm also happy to maybe shoot that around via email between now and March, and we can really pick that up again in March. How does that feel to you guys?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I just asked, so what the document, oh, sorry, Trudy.
No, I'm done.
The document that you sent yesterday, is that just like, where did that come?
Ashley had a base set of rules.
Yeah, I forget which one of the other city boards and commissions, I used theirs. They were much more detailed. I used sort of a streamlined version of theirs. And and I just chose what I wanted, what I thought you guys might need to use, but it's really a very base starting point, and you can add or subtract as you want. I just wanted to give something to work with.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we can hash it out over email or something. Because speaking to Trudy's point from earlier about number of terms, like this board is notorious for having many terms. I think like our one of the founders, Jay, of this board, Jay, like was chair for like a decade or more, which is not necessarily meaning that chairs should be, like definitely they shouldn't be obligated to be chairs for that long, but just that hasn't been a standard procedure for us in the past to like have term limits. So and since we're such a small board as well, it may be a difficult thing to do, but so that's, I don't know, that's good to know that we can add or take things.
Oh yeah,
whatever we want, whatever is appropriate for us. So
yeah, I'm sorry, Ash. I keep seeing these little hands come around. You've got a lot going on there. I wish you the best of luck.
Some days it's really easy, and other days they're
They're
more
big bad
involved.
boys.
They're more involved.
Joanne, this doesn't have a place on the agenda, but I do want to say, I think Linda's background is just terrific and a great addition. And we have now, what, 1 or 2 vacancies, do we?
We have 2 vacancies now.
I think you really need to push the city as they think about their appointments to give us give us people who have this kind of background. I mean, we've had some folks who never seem to even get it or come to me, I mean, we need more.
Yeah.
We need more there. We need, 5 people who really know this field, and then a couple of loudmouths like me or something, I mean, I think we just impress on them how much we really need people with backgrounds in this area too, because when you get down to these kind of tasks, it does keep falling back awfully heavily on the people with that. I mean, poor Karen, she's always dragged because she's the one of you, and now Lynn, you know what I mean. We just need a little more back people with this. This is kind of a specialty board, I feel.
Okay.
Are we able to do a little recruitment, or do we?
That was kind of my question. As far as I understand, in the past there hasn't been like active recruitment efforts, but can we do that? Not that I have.
It depends on the mayor. It depends on the mayor. We have done active recruitment. Like when Joel Dunn was on the board, I had recruited him.
Yeah, you can look for people and make recommendations to Hillary Raftovich. She says she's open to taking recommendations.
Okay.
She will not consult with the board or commission or staff on what we think, unfortunately.
Okay.
But we can make recommendations. We can look for people and make recommendations for her evaluation. She feels that it's a conflict of interest for us to do that, for us to weigh in.
Okay. Well,
I can see that.
Only the city of Annapolis could come up with that one.
Information
is a conflict of interest. Excuse me, I'm not running for mayor anymore. Sorry.
Yeah, I've made the recommendation to Hillary to shoot, for the boards and commissions that I staff to let me know at least, because I told her, sometimes we may have had experience with somebody she's looking at, or, we have the expertise, you guys do, and you have the expertise in these areas, and we can look at an applicant and know whether they would be good or not so great.
Yeah.
But I've been shot down on that proposal.
Well, I haven't noticed that serving on our board is the hottest item in town, so maybe just some good names would be helpful.
Yeah.
Well, I think that one thing that would be helpful though is if maybe we could ask Hillary to just let any potential applicants know when we meet, and that there are obligations outside of our meetings in terms of monitoring easements, because I think that was something that I know, like when Trudy joined and Jason and Meg, the first Meg, like was, commuting up to Hopkins, like people were like, oh, I don't know if I can, like some people were like, oh, I don't know if I can make a meeting at 5:30 on a weeknight. But they didn't know until after they've been appointed that was when we met. So like, that would be something that like has nothing to do with conflicts of interest, but just would be good to, if the city would let people know like what our schedules are.
Good call. Yeah.
Well, and the idea we were going to inspect easements, I never knew that. You could probably remember, I was just blown away. I'm what? Inspect easements? I do know what vines are though.
No, these are all good points. So yeah, all right. So if anybody has recommendations, I guess we can email them straight to Hillary. You're also welcome to send them to me and I'll forward them on if for some reason you want to do that, but I think it's certainly fine to send them right to Hillary. Yeah. So we'll, I'll think about that too. There might be a couple of people I can reach out to in the area as well. All right. So as we wrap up here, I just want to check in on a couple things, and Jackie and Ashley, I may check in with you on these things. So funds for boundary surveys. So it sounds like the Critical Area Commission MOU is signed probably. And I know there were some questions as to when that money would be available. Do you have an update on that kind of?
It's available.
It's
now.
Okay. 84,000
Yeah.
or something you said?
And
Around
it's
there.
signed. I just sent Jackie, Racine, and Joanna another copy of it.
Awesome. Okay, sweet. All right, so we got that. So then that rolls into the next update, which is MET easements. Ashley, gosh, what, 3 years ago maybe now, Karen, or anyone that can remember, we had started a conversation with MET about Truxton Park. And then I think we ran into the fact that we need an easement, and on Truxton Park, that was going to be kind of complicated. And if we wanted to add the Hawkins Cove piece to it, anyway, that was going to be pricey for it. Do you know if anything was ever drafted, Ashley? Or
I'll check. I'm sure I have it in my records, but I haven't looked at it recently. But
Okay.
I can check. I do remember it. It's probably been like 6 city attorneys ago, so it's been a while. But I will check and get back to you.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to remember where that left off and what the next step is probably just to start from scratch, I guess, with MET and Jackie. I don't know kind of who from the city would lead that, if it's you or Ashley or Racine or anyway,
We'll figure it out.
dust that out. Yeah. how to get that rolling again, which is exciting. And then, okay, MOU with the county, Ashley or Jackie, Racine, if you can, I'm just kind of curious. Where does that stand? And that's the MOU about the program open space funds.
So I just checked in with the county law office. They haven't expressed any concerns, but they're trying to get their clients at Rec and Park to respond to it. So they were going to ping them again this week.
Okay.
And let me know.
Awesome. Well, sounds like things are moving.
I mean, I have a good relationship with them. So if we don't hear from them again, I'll just hit up my counterpart over in their law office another time.
That's exciting. And that's another item that has been like on the list for years. So it's just, I don't know. I again want to thank like the city staff that we have working with us here and that stay with us, and the board members that have worked for so long on these items. These are like years, probably some of these decades, or a decade. Karen would know certainly way better than I would, these issues. And I think we have a great administration to work with. We have good staff in place in these areas, and it's just nice to see all of that kind of coming together. So I thank you to everyone who has hung in there from when these conversations first started through where we are now. I think that says a lot. So
we'll get this one done. Their law office is just distracted with a lot of CARES Act amendments at the moment. So once those go through, they can refocus.
I can see why that might be a priority. I think that's allowed. That's that comes first. All right, great. Thank you guys so much. Any final questions, comments?
Jackie, I just would like, Joanne, I just like to add to your comments that I think the best thing about 2020, and there wasn't much that was highlighted, but was the getting Jackie and now Regine and Ashley, and feeling like we really had some there from the city to help us. And I think the way we've been able to move things, it just is really invigorating, because for so long in those early years, we were just talking to ourselves, and it just like suddenly I feel like, we got some ability to move ideas and move things. So that you guys are, and I tell Tammy, she takes the best minutes. I have to review minutes for our board, and boy, I wish we got somebody who could take them like Tammy. So I appreciate you all very much.
And we appreciate
so
you
much.
guys too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Racine,
Tammy is the best. She does the environmental commission too.
She is good. She's good. She listens to all this and figures out how to make us sound organized and smart.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate that.
No, you deserve it. Way more than that for sure. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing